us, and welcome to the Reptile Living Room, featuring John Taylor of Herp House Magazine and James Tintle with ColdBlooded Publishing. The Reptile Living Room is brought to you by Herp House Magazine, the premier digital magazine for the reptile hobbyist, and by ColdBlooded Publishing, your exclusive reptile media publishing company. Now, here are John and James in the Reptile Living Room.
Welcome, everybody, to the Reptile Living Room, and I am your host, James Tintle from Tremendous Tricolors, and we had Chad Barnes over here, our executive producer, and unfortunately, John Taylor is not with us as of the moment. I'm hoping he's safe and wishing him the best. There's been some issues within his township where he lives of a shooter, and they have the town all on lockdown. So we're all wishing him the best. Haven't heard from him. So if John, if you hear this, be safe, bud. Well, this week we have women in herpetoculture and herpetology. We have a pretty exciting show this week. Some of our guests this week is Courtney Stott from ColdBlooded Vixens, and then we have Heather Wong from Heather's Herps, and Rachel Winchin from Sticky Situation Happy Geckos. Is that correct, Rachel? Nope. You got to turn your mic on.
It's Happy Gecko Sticky Situation.
Oh, I had it backwards. Oh,
yeah, that's okay.
I'm sorry if I butcher it because John was supposed to do all the introductions tonight and I didn't have any of the material, so I'm just kind of winging it. I'd like to welcome all our panelists to the show. Chad, anything been going on? Kids are out of school. You got any plans for this summer?
Doing a lot of field herping. That's about it. Just taking it easy.
That's it. Anything in particular? Staying local or? Yeah,
just staying local for the most part.
Great.
With the gas prices the way they are, I'm definitely not going any long trips.
Oh, yeah, I hear that. Other than that, I mean, I don't have much for this week. With John not being on the show, we kind of chit-chat back and forth, but and not much going on. For this week, I know John just recently had a move, and Rachel, you just recently wrote an article that's being featured on reptileapartment.com as well.
John kind of asked me to write up a little thing about it, and it kind of turned into more than that because I love writing. So it just happened to be a featured article after that.
Yeah, and you and John both actually went through a move recently with reptiles, so I'm looking forward to reading both of them. I haven't had a chance to read yours yet, and hopefully I get to read John's because I know he's working on a piece too about moving and moving with reptiles and everything that it takes. So anyway, let's see here. Chad, you got any shout-outs or anything you want to do tonight?
Wasn't planning on it, but I'll think of something.
All right.
Cheesecake.
I have one for Greg Donlin. He plays a banjo. He's a herper, and he's going to be playing at Harvard de Grace, the All-Maryland Reptile Show this weekend. So if anybody's watching the show, make it out there. Tell him that Reptile Living Room sent you over there. He'll be playing the banjo. If you play any instrument, he said he's welcome to anybody coming in, and he'll jam out with you. So, Greg, hope everything's well and you do good this weekend. So there's my shout-out for the week. And other than that, I think we're good to go. Let's get right into our topic, which is women in herpetoculture. So let me start off and start saying that this hobby has been so male-orientated for so long, and in the most recent years, I would say 10 years, we've seen an increase in women on all sides of the hobby. So what we try to do, John and I, what we try to do is we try to promote as many women in the hobby to give the younger crowd the ability to see you guys, you ladies, in a light that might not have been seen 10 or 15 years ago. So with that, I'd like to welcome Z to the show as well. I see she just got in here. Welcome to the show, Z. Now, John had the bios and the introductions all written up, and unfortunately, John isn't here tonight for some reason, Z. So if I butcher anything, please excuse me on butchering it. But anyway, so let's start off with Courtney. Courtney, you're from Cold-Blooded Vixens. Can you tell me a little bit about the company?
Hi, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, so I started Cold-Blooded Vixens just because I have a passion for all things cold-blooded, and I wanted to represent them. They're so misunderstood. I wanted to show the beauty in them. So I just decided to, hey, why not create a page, and it's actually taken off. I'm surprised on how well it's doing. I show lots of different things. I featured lots of artists. Natalyn actually has her own album on there. Shannon Hammer's been featured. I'm always looking to feature any women that are out, in the field or working with reptiles. If you own reptiles, come to the page. Come Cold-Blooded Vixens. I would love to feature you. It's just about showing the beauty of these animals.
Now, is the page strictly promoting women in herpetoculture and herpetology, or?
I feature a lot of different things. Different photographers that have done shots with cold-blooded animals, artists, women that work with them out in the field, lots of different things. I mean, anything that's cold-blooded and vixen related, we're gonna show it.
Great. Great. I know I've been to the page. I've promoted it a few times.
Thank you.
You actually have a contest going on for a calendar for next year as well. Is that correct?
I do. I did last year. Was my first time doing a Cold-Blooded Vixens calendar. As my page is still kind of new, it's only about a year old. So it got a good turnout last year. So we're having another one. The deadline is Monday, September 22nd. And anybody is welcome. You just email me at coldbloodedvixens@gmail.com, and I will send you rules and regulations. And I encourage everybody. It's not just for models. You don't have to have a professional photo. It's really for anybody. Just please, I encourage you, come out, send an email, and I will send you the rules. And I'd love to see all the photos. And even if you're not picked to be in the calendar, I'll still feature you on the page, and everybody's welcome.
Great. Great. And that's Cold-Blooded Vixens on Facebook, and then they can contact you at coldbloodedvixens@gmail.com. That's correct, right?
Yes.
All right. Chad, make sure we put that in the description on YouTube, and I'll post it up on Facebook too, so everybody can get a hold of Courtney. So Courtney, let me continue starting with you. How did you discover your interest in the reptiles? Was there anything in particular that happened when you were younger, middle, that really got you into reptiles?
Not so much. Actually, when I was a little girl, I was always out in the mud catching bugs and different critters, frogs. Most girls were playing with Barbies, not me. I was out getting dirty and playing with critters. But I was raised by my grandmother, who actually is very terrified of snakes. She cannot stand them. So it wasn't until I moved out that I actually got to have my own reptiles and work with them. I used to be an animal control officer, so I've worked with rattlesnakes, relocating them back into the wild, lots of various snakes down in the desert. And I've also volunteered for years at my local zoo, Fresno Chaffee Zoological Gardens here in Fresno. And I've worked in the reptile house, educating the public. I'm big on that, and just, different things. I love them. They're misunderstood. I don't know. I find beauty in them.
And I think all of us do. I mean, there's so many, and a lot more every day. We continue to see, the hobby and reptiles exceptionally has risen in popularity over the years. Even though we have the negativity from a lot of the mass media, it's definitely risen over the years. So, Rachel, let me go to you, and can you explain, I'm going to butcher your company one more time, And could you help me out?
The happy gecko sticky situation.
There we go. And what does happy gecko sticky situation do? What do you do in that company?
Well, I kind of just started out. It started out as a fundraiser for a little club here that I kind of run part-time. We do Snake Awareness Day and stuff like that. So I started out with these little stickers, just real simple, that says "I heart snakes" on them, and we were selling them so that we could, go ahead and get funding for the insurance and all that stuff to do the events. And then I was looking around, and I'm kind of crafty where if I find something online that kind of looks like what I want, but not quite, I'll go make it. I've always kind of been crafty like that since I was little. And so I really wanted products that had reptiles on them, and a variety of them. You can't just go out and find a sticker or a product of a very specific reptile anywhere, really. There are a few artists that do some really great work out there with them, but I just started doodling them, and I really didn't expect it to be as huge as it's got. We've only been open since October. I opened my shop and put my first 7 stickers in there, and it's just grown, and the support is just amazing from everyone, and we just do stickers, decals, magnets. I also do custom art and logos for people. I just opened those up this month, and the feedback's really awesome.
Great. And you're definitely a sponsor for the show and a sponsor for Herp House Mag too as well, and Reptile Apartment, which is great. So, Rachel, let me ask you, how did you discover your interest in reptiles? Was it at a young age? Was it a little bit older, or?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Southern California, right in the desert. So I grew up catching scorpions and tarantulas, and I caught lizards. I caught a poor roadrunner once, and that poor roadrunner, I feel bad now, like, oh my gosh, I caught a roadrunner. It was so stressed out now that I look back. But I mean, everything. I would catch everything, look at it, draw them, even back then, and let them go, of course. But I was a little herper before I even knew what that meant. And my older brother, he's about 10 years older than I am, he had a Burmese python when we were growing up, so that was really cool to have one of those in the house and be right in the middle of that at a young age.
Right. Did you personally keep captive reptiles at a younger age, or did that come to play a little bit older?
When I was about 10, I caught a scorpion and just kind of kept it. It was a desert hairy scorpion. And they're really easy to care for if you're living in the desert. You don't really have to do anything with them. And I kept him for a few years and let him go after a while. But I didn't really have any reptiles until I was about 21. I got my first tarantula, and he was kind of somebody just gave it to me, and I was willing to take him on. Nobody else wanted a spider. Everyone's afraid of spiders. So it was a cobalt blue, and not exactly a beginner spider. But she was pretty old when I got her, and she passed away, and then I got my first crested gecko, and I still have him back in 2009, and that totally, after I got him, everything
changed.
Exploded, yeah.
So do you keep crested geckos now? Do you keep other geckos, other animals?
Yeah, I have 12 crested geckos, and I had breeding plans for them, but with my sticker shop being a little bit more popular, that's kind of taken the front burner, and I've put breeding them on the back burner. I have 10 species of geckos and several species of other stuff.
Wow. Yeah, breeding, it can be a handful at times, especially when you're working other jobs. And talking about breeding, Heather Wong's a pretty good breeder, breeding ball pythons. Heather, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right.
Actually, let's do this. Here I am.
There we go.
There I am.
There we go. I saw you had the video shut off, so I didn't know if you had stepped away or not, but I figured I'd lead into it.
For a minute I did, but, part of it is I also feel like just sitting here and being looked at kind of is a little odd. So, anyway. Hi, John.
Hello there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
You're alive?
Yes, I'm actually still alive. Actually.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad.
Well, we were all worried about you. You didn't get in the show in time, and I was like, oh, man, I hope everything's all right.
Well, Becky came home, so that was a good thing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, definitely hugs and kisses with her being away for over 24 hours, huh?
Yeah, that was a little interesting, so apologies for being late, but I have arrived.
Well, welcome to the show. I've introduced pretty much everybody except for Z. Z, I haven't introduced her because I'm trying to dig up the information, but we were just talking with Heather and introduced Heather, and we're going to ask Heather to talk about Heather's Herps and how that was created and what she actually does with that.
Awesome.
Well, I've been breeding ball pythons for about, I would say, close to 10 years now. I started out way back in the day, you know, when I was a child, I wanted to be either a doctor or a vet. Vet was kind of edging everything else out, so I decided to try and found out, unfortunately, that my genetics were not going to allow that to happen because I am allergic to pretty much everything with fur. So, as devastating as that was, I decided then to look into another opportunity to work with animals without having to actually deal with hair. There ends up being, you know, I got bearded dragons first and realized that I am not patient enough for lizards at all. I can't do it. And then ended up getting ball pythons. I started out with one, and one turned into 10, and 10 turned into about, within a year, about 100. And then after that, now I'm here where I'm at now, which was, well, within the recent time was around 300. Now I'm cutting back because I'm actually moving, which is interesting that Rachel and you guys were talking about that. I will be moving very soon, so I look forward to reading those articles.
Yeah, they're very cool. Rachel did a wonderful job on that article for us, and I'm going to be doing one here pretty soon for the Canadian side of moving with owning reptiles. So, yeah, lots of fun there. Lots of fun.
You're telling me. Try and move 200.
No, I'm good.
I hope I never have to move anytime soon.
Yeah, this
moving 600 plus eggs. Yeah, no.
Nope, it's not fun, not at all. But yeah, it's actually it's going to be across the country even. So it's not just up the state, down the state. It's completely across the country. So this is going to be a life-changing experience.
Wow. Cross-country move with reptiles.
Yep.
Yeah, you got me beat there, girl.
Yeah, well, haven't done it yet, and we're still working on that.
Yeah, for sure. Jeez. And James, so you have not introduced Lindsay yet, you said?
No.
Okay.
I have not.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Be my guest.
Okay, so Lindsay, how are you?
Is it working?
There we go. Okay.
Woo. I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well.
Pretty crazy where you're at.
It's been an interesting 48 hours.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, just bringing some California love to Canada. You know, I guess so. I got nothing.
Trouble follows you, I guess.
Yeah, evidently so. So, do you guys have things like this happen out there in Iowa to you at all?
Not where I live.
All right, good.
Oh, I guess I can say that there was a what do you call it? I don't even know. We have this party called Visha, and so there was this crowd of like 1,000 people just rioting this last year. So now they're debating whether or not to get rid of Visha because of these people that ultimately destroyed Campus Town, and nothing like shooters or anything, but they did quite a bit of damage, and one guy got injured. So I guess that's the craziest it gets around here, and I live in a college town right now. I'm from about 20 minutes south of here originally. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And now you're attending college now, is that correct?
I graduated. with a bachelor's in animal science pre-vet. I was double majoring in animal ecology, but after I took all the classes that I wanted to, I booted that second major.
Very cool. Now, and so you're currently working at a stable, so you aren't allergic to the furry animals, unfortunately, like Heather is for her.
No, not at all. I've worked with all sorts of furry animals, especially in my research career at Iowa State. So.
Now, speaking of research, that's one of the things that kind of might say caught my attention. When you said you worked in research labs with pigs with SCID, PRRS, and H1N1.
Yeah. So
yeah, can we explain that a little bit? That's a little creepy.
So the skid pigs were ones with super compromised immunodeficiency, and they actually just kind of happened on it while they were researching some other stuff. I don't remember what they were researching initially, but they're like the only people in the United States, I think, that are researching skid in pig. I know that someone else is in an Asian country. I want to say, I don't want to say because I'll be wrong if I do. But there's only one person that's doing it. And there were two different research labs, actually. The other one that was working with the H1N1 in PRRS, which is a pretty common disease in the livestock world. That was my freshman year and very short-lived, but it kind of got me into it, if that makes sense. I did the most research with the cats and the dogs, and I did that for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh. Just working around. Now, because you and I have talked a lot about zoonosis, and I know this is semi-off topic, so I won't take too long on this, but how did you end up in that arena as far as working with, around potentially, life-threatening disease, carrying animals? I mean, that's not something you just stumble upon.
For me, most of the stuff that I worked with, I didn't really have, I don't think I had too much. Obviously, there was biohazard problems or whatever that could have occurred, but I don't think the risk for me was that great, aside from when we did certain procedures. I was literally in like a biohazard suit, like kind of like Walter White from the, I was in that gear almost. But I had the full-on face mask, the hood, the eye goggles, the gloves, and then the suit had to cover the gloves. So there was pretty strict protocols. I just thought it was really cool. So I was just like, yeah, let's keep going with this. I found it all interesting. So I mean, I really, really adore the research field, and I'd like to keep going in that direction. So I'm kind of glad I did get started out with a freshman. It was honestly just like, hey, look, this job got posted. Let's go do it. I'm in this field. That's pretty much how it got started. And then ever since that, I just kept going with it. So.
Wow, that's just amazing. Now, James, have you talked to, as far as, because I am late to the show, and again, I do apologize. I know we've covered how did we discover their interest in reptiles. Have we talked about the family and loved ones and what their thoughts are as far as owning reptiles?
No, we haven't. And actually, I wanted to do one more thank you to Marcia from Golden Gate Geckos. I worked with her for about an hour trying to get all the technical difficulties done. And unfortunately, we couldn't get her on the show tonight. So, Marcia, hopefully we can get you on again and work out all those technical difficulties. But thanks for actually wanting to appear on the show.
Thanks, Marcia.
No, we haven't. That was the only question. I was kind of ad-libbing the intros and butchering everybody's companies and names and everything else. So
awesome. Hey, it can't possibly be as bad as that one that I did for Rocca that one time that was on a show that we won't talk about when I murdered that name.
No, actually, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so you can. And did anybody get Chad cheesecake tonight at all? Anyone?
No, he asked for it. No, he didn't get cheesecake tonight. He got cheese pizza instead.
Oh, okay. Well, at least there was some cheese in it. What can I do?
I didn't know we were supposed to bring food. I brought my wine. I'm sorry. That's all I can do.
Always bring food.
So, Lindsay, what is your special shout out to Lindsay's parents? Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. How does your family feel about you owning and working with reptiles, Lindsay? Oh, is her mic cut out?
Lindsay, is your mic cut off?
We can't hear you, hon.
What happened there?
I don't know, because I don't see the mute button on at all.
Me either.
I don't have her muted.
Sorry.
Lindsay, log out, click the little red phone, and then log back in, and we'll get right back to you.
Okay. Yep, she got it. Very cool. Okay, so we'll switch over to, let's go with Courtney. Courtney, good evening. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. Glad you're here. We missed you.
So how did you, or actually, what did your family think of your involvement or interest in reptiles and amphibians and other creepy crawly things?
Well, my mother would have loved it. She loved all animals, but unfortunately I lost her at a very young age, so I was raised by my grandmother, who is absolutely terrified of snakes. She cannot stand them, so I did not get to have reptiles of any kind. In fact, I liked rats too. I couldn't even have a rat because the tail reminded her of a snake. So, I mean, she's deathly afraid of them. So I didn't have reptiles till I actually had my own place and moved out.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was the same way. I didn't get interested in reptiles until later, but my parents would not have been at all kosher with owning reptiles or anything with more than 4 legs in the house. Or no legs. So I definitely feel your pain there. And Heather, what did your parents and family and friends think when you first got into reptiles? Were they okay with it, or?
Camera's on. Yeah. It's funny. My husband just walked in, and I was going to ask him if he wanted to be on camera and explain how he felt about it, but obviously too easy. Anyway, my mother is incredibly afraid of snakes. I personally have arachnophobia. She has snakeophobia, so we both had a little bit of disconnect there. She has, in the 10-plus years that I've been doing this, has actually at some point agreed to touch one, actually several now, and she has a few in the collection that she does want to see when she comes over and visits. So, you know, the growth is there for her to actually appreciate the snakes for what they are. My father, he just doesn't care because, you know, whatever. But and my husband, actually, since we've been together prior to being married, and I actually started the business while we were together, and he initially didn't quite appreciate the fact that one snake turned into 20 in a very quick succession. So it took a little bit of time for him to kind of appreciate what I was trying to do. And now he actually helps me very significantly with the business on the back end, you know, the feeding and the cleaning when I'm at work or something like that. So there you go.
Right. Now, I do have a question in regards to Mom, because I do remember, if I'm not mistaken, when you and I first met, I think it was the second show after you and I first met in San Diego, that Mom actually touched a snake for the first time. Because I remember you going around to the different vendors and actually telling them that Mom touched a snake, and this was a very epic moment for you. Is that still the same snake that she's visiting now?
No, it's probably a different one, but she really has grown into the idea of it. She's actually attended a couple shows when I go up north. That's where she lives, in Northern California. She actually does attend and actually sits behind the booth with us and kind of just watches things. I can't say that she goes out of her way to touch things, but she's definitely there to support. So it's actually grown from completely not understanding my interest in them to actually completely appreciating what we're trying to do. So.
Very cool. And there's actually a comment for you, Heather, from Cheryl Mitchell. It's a live comment. She says, I have the same problem that Heather has, severe allergies to furry and feathered critters. When I found out that reptiles didn't trigger my allergies over 16 years ago, it was like I won the critter lottery.
Right.
Cheryl Mitchell via YouTube, I think.
Well, Cheryl, you and I are, sisters in that, because that is why I have 300 plus snakes, because obviously I can't be a vet, so I decided to kind of explode in other ways, and this has ended up being the decision, I guess. So.
And also, just a personal shout out from me to Heather, or actually to the crowd, rather. If you haven't seen it yet, and she still has it, she is breeding a ball python. It's known as the silver bullet. Still, to this day, my favorite snake that she's ever had offered for sale. Anyone wants to buy it for me, I am open to shipping, to pay for shipping. So just throwing that out there.
I was going to say, you want me to go get it? I can go get it if you want.
Oh, please do, yes. I would love to see it.
Hold on.
Okay, while you're gone, we'll go on to Rachel. So, Rachel, what does your family think your interest in reptiles and amphibians?
Well, most of my family is pretty supportive of what I do. They know that I love it, and I've kind of come to terms with it like that. My sister in Reno, hi Gina, she actually wants to get a gecko from me, and they used to have chameleons and things like that. The person that might be a little bit less in love with the fact that I have reptiles is actually my boyfriend Jason, who we live together, and he introduced me to my first gecko, so I blame him for all this. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with Heather with her husband. How I had one, then I had two, then I had 40.
Very cool. And it looks like we may have gotten Lindsay back, I think.
Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Hey, Lindsay. Back. Awesome.
I just went ahead and restarted my computer because after I reloaded the Google app, it was like, your hardware isn't working. I'm like, screw you.
Yeah, we love technology here too. So, Lindsay, how did your family react when you told them you had an interest in reptiles and amphibians? Were they shocked and horror?
I think initially that they first initially just started to blow it off, like, oh, it's just a phase. Because I got interested in my freshman year, and so for a couple of years I kind of just hung out at one of the local pet shops and, messed around with them, and that's where I kind of got interested. And so I finally moved in with one of my good friends, and I was like, well, I want to get a snake or maybe some geckos. Can I get that at this apartment? So I started figuring out, how this was all going to transpire. So when I did get them, I tried to keep my parents out of my apartment for the first 2 weeks of having them, because I was just I don't want to deal with you finding out right now, because I don't have any intentions on telling you. And so my mom actually kind of pushed her way through my door one day, because I had two 20-gallon longs at the time on top of each other right in front of the door. And so she just kind of peeked in, and she saw them, and she's like, Lindsay, what have you done? What kind of thing? I mean, I guess I'm an only child, so I have that kind of syndrome. So if I do something bad, it's kind of bad.
Yeah, epically bad.
My mom still isn't too fond of them. My dad, he thinks they're kind of cool. I have a picture of him holding one of my rescue ball pythons, and he seems pretty happy in the picture, so I think that's pretty cool. I think it's just one of those things of I'm just so young right now that they still think it's kind of a phase, and so going forward, when they figure out that it's kind of serious, that they'll still be supportive and everything, and not just realize, oh, she has all this stuff, what are you going to do with it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. And with that, we're going to jump over to Heather because Heather has my favorite ball python morph of all time. She's going to show it off for us. And then I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy for the next question after Heather shows off her snake. So if we can take a look over to Heather.
All right. So I'm guessing that this is, well, I can kind of see myself, so I'm assuming that you can see this.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
back up a little bit. So this is apparently John's favorite snake ever in the world.
Yeah.
It's a
As
silver
far as ball
bullet.
pythons go, that's the snake.
This is the snake. All right. It's basically a super cinnamon pastel ball python. And since you saw it, John, obviously she's grown a little bit because we're talking at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So she is no longer for sale, although if you'd want him, John, if you want her, we can talk. But for anybody else, I'm sorry, because she's coming with me to North Carolina. Anyway, this is it. You know, this is one of the actual patternless ball pythons that are available. Of all of the different combinations and ball python morphs, these tend to be the most dramatic. You get a lot of people that are just appalled by the fact that you see a brown and black snake and see this thing and think, how are they even related? So, you know, that's the fun with genetics and ball pythons, and I'm sure this is true of all other snakes and reptiles that we deal with too. So,
For sure. Thanks very much, Heather. I appreciate that.
of course.
Oh my God, I love that snake.
And we'll actually stick with Heather because I know Heather actually has vended shows. So for our next question, how did the community at large react to when you attended your first or vended your first reptile show? Did you have any troubles because of your gender inside the reptile show?
No, I actually don't feel like I had any problems whatsoever. What I did have was people coming to me, asking questions, getting an answer, and then going to the next person who happened to be male generally and asking the same questions just to make sure I wasn't wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just kind of double checking everything on the way down. Now,
yeah, and to be honest, it still happens today. You know, no matter how long I've been in this business, there's always going to be somebody who doubts, and that's to their credit. You know, you can't always take everything at face value, but, you know, it's a little disheartening when you see something like that in a show, when you know that across the way it's the same question for the same reasons. So.
Right. Being a ball python breeder, did you see people staying away and going more towards your competition on selling animals, or was it pretty much a 50-50 shot, whatever you had on the table if they were looking for it? I know years ago they were flying off tables quicker than anybody could produce them.
Oh, yeah.
But as we've seen, and you've been around a while, so you've made a name for yourself, so I'm sure that plays into it. But did you see any of that while you were at the shows?
Yeah, I mean, it could be said for anybody. I don't know if it had anything really to do with gender, to be honest with you, and I would like to think that that's not the case, although obviously that's why we're discussing this at all. But, you know, it's competition, and no matter what, as we all well know, ball pythons are everywhere now. So back in the day, it wasn't so hard, but then again, it was also easier to see that more people were kind of flocking to the more established breeders who were generally male. So, you know, it may not actually be a gender thing, it may be just an established thing, but, right. You know, yes and no is basically my answer.
There was no pertinent information stating that it was definitely a gender
right.
decision on the part of the buyer.
Right.
Gotcha.
I would hope not. At least if they had said that to my face, we would have had a problem, so...
All right. Has any of the other panelists actually done actually vended at shows? Courtney, Rachel, Lindsay.
I've vended at shows with my stickers, and I've done educational stuff, but I haven't actually vended with animals.
Okay.
And it's only been for a couple of years.
Well, even with the stickers, I mean, the competition with the stickers. Do you have a lot of competition at the shows? Because I noticed the artwork arena is pretty much, from what I see more recently, it is almost the female-dominated part of herpetoculture is the artwork side. Of course, we have the famous Tell Hicks, which we had on the show a couple weeks ago, but most of the stuff that I see, current stuff, is female-orientated. So, would you see? I guess you wouldn't really see any gender differences at the shows, would you?
No, I think I'm the only artist in the area that does like stickers, reptile art. I know that there's Gexware, and he does T-shirts. And now I'm forgetting his name. I feel like a complete dope. But his shirts are really, really awesome. They're pretty popular, and I can see once I start doing more T-shirts, I'm waiting on a couple pieces of equipment so I can be a print shop myself. I'm sure that there'll be competition there, and they're way more established than I am.
Right.
But with the stickers, I don't really see much of that. No.
Right.
People are surprised when they see that I've done all the artwork on them, and they get really excited about that. But other than that,
I didn't think there was much of a gender bias in that arena, but I do want to jump over to Courtney because I have kind of a specific question, kind of based on cold-blooded vixens, and I'll ask you. I know you probably don't, but do you vend at shows?
No, I don't.
Okay, but my question is to you is pretty much geared towards cold-blooded vixens. Do you have a general gender bias? Are you contacted by males in the herpetological world, kind of looking at cold-blooded vixens in a sexual orientation type way? Do you get emails, snide comment emails, stuff like that?
Actually, I've had somebody question before, but I've never really had anybody be blatantly rude. For the most part, I seem to get positive reaction.
Okay. I was just wondering. It had popped up on a previous show some of the emails that women get. It's a male-dominated world, and sometimes they get emails that are not so nice. I know John and I have discussed this on various levels, but so it's just something that I wanted to see if maybe cold-blooded vixens would have those emails. And Lindsay, I know you haven't done it, vended any shows, have you?
No, I haven't vended any shows. I just attend.
You just attend as an attendee.
Yeah.
Actually, that brings up another good point, though, Jimmy, that I never really thought about. All of our panels, although they may not vend at shows, they do attend the shows. Do you actually see a difference in treatment from that side of the table?
Is that for me?
It's for actually the whole panel. We'll start with Lindsay, though.
Okay. I guess the shows that I go to, I went to the Omaha show because it was a little bit bigger than the ones that they have here in Iowa. I mean, we're kind of, put in the middle of nowhere, and so reptiles aren't exactly huge around these parts, so we don't get big shows like Tintle. But so far, it's been kind of male-dominated for vending, but you do see this trend of more women getting into the vending aspect. And as for the audience, it seems to be very 50-50 on who's going out. I mean, there was one year that I was a TA in school, and so part of their homework or assignment was, going to a cat or a dog show. But I talked to the professor, and I was like, hey, let's get these kids into a reptile show. And so the reptile show was like the last date that they could do the assignment by. So everybody that procrastinated had to go to this reptile show. So it really boosted the numbers on that one. But yeah, so that was pretty cool, and seeing their reading those papers was really interesting. But yeah, for the gender in the in my experience, it doesn't seem to be too crazy.
Okay, very cool. And Courtney, how about you? When you've attended shows, do you think that there's a gender bias from the other side of the table as an audience participant of the shows at all?
You know, I'm actually not very good to ask that question because I've still yet to attend a reptile show. It's not that I don't want to, I just sadly haven't been able to attend one yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
So hopefully soon.
Okay, we can work on that for you. And Rachel, what about you? Do you think there's a gender bias when you attend a show? As an audience?
Not really. None that I've really noticed. Again, I haven't really vended anything, except for my stickers, and I've done some nonprofit stuff. But
Right.
I have noticed that. The last show that I went to in Hillsborough, that I actually vended at, they said that there were more female attendees than there were male, which was kind of an interesting little tidbit to me. It was the Pacific Northwest Reptile Show, and that was a really great show, 2-day show. And
Awesome.
yeah, it was pretty interesting, I thought.
And that was on the attendee.
Yeah, that was the attendees.
Because I know James and I have talked about it, as well as Brandon Fowler of Roaming Reptiles, who we've had on the show. We've talked about when we do reptile presentations, it's very often the little girls who will more than likely come forward versus the boys. And, this was just in James has found the same at, I believe it was Snake Days, Jimmy, wasn't it?
No. I do the Great American Teach-In at the local elementary school every year.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
So, yeah, and typically it's the females and the female teachers that are very interested in what's going on and trying to learn. And most of them, when I do it, they're the first ones that want to overcome that fear, too, as well.
Sure.
And just to interject, I would like to say that when we did a couple Snake Awareness Day events here in Coos Bay, I spearheaded the first one, most of the men actually would say things like, no good snake but a dead snake, and the women were actually very interested in touching and knowing more about them and handling them, and the older like 70, 80-year-old women were coming in to check out these reptiles. So many excited little old ladies and I just loved that. It was really awesome.
How cool is that? So, now, Heather, as far as your experience when attending a show, do you find any gender bias at all? Being attendee versus a vendor and being a female at all?
Yes. Generally, it really depends. A lot of going to shows now, people know who I am most of the times, except for the people who are attending.
Right.
That tends to maybe be an issue because, excuse me, I need to go talk to my friend. Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
But, that happens no matter what, right?
Right.
What I do notice, and actually it's interesting that, as an attendee, there's a lot of imagery, and of course, similar to what Courtney puts out, that's mostly women and sex and reptiles. You don't really see very many guys hanging out with, naked snakes or anything like that. It's interesting to see that, and that's something that I do notice.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, sex sells, and women are, hotter in general. So, there could be something to be said for that. But that's actually something I definitely notice compared to anything else in terms of being women versus men.
And it's interesting that you say sex sells, and as, anybody knows it does. But I do remember when I first attended my second show in San Diego that I ever attended, and I still see the vendor today, and I still cannot remember his name, surprisingly enough. He actually has belly dancers at his booth.
That's
every
John.
Single show.
Yeah, that's John. He's down here. He's local. John's Jungle. He actually has some friends that he works with, and he lends, from what I understand, snakes to them for their shows, and then they in turn come to the shows and do the dancing.
All right.
Yeah, he also had a Michael Jackson one the year that Michael Jackson died. That was interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Only in California.
Yep.
Okay, now Heather, you had some more snakes to show up, I heard.
Sure. Well, this is, I don't know if she's a lot smaller, so it's a lot harder to see. This is the axanthic clown. TSK axanthic clown. This is a double recessive that I actually hit on accident this year. I've been working on this project for 8 years now and didn't intend to actually get this animal. I was planning to prove her mother out, and it ended up that my male that I had, what I produced probably 4 years ago, ended up being a het as well. So this is like mystery het time, which is much more common in corn snakes, ball pythons. It's getting there. So yeah, this is actually either, from what I understand, as far as Mike has told me, this is the 4th one in the world. So.
Can you hold that up a little bit more again?
Sure. There you go. Can you see her?
Wow.
There we go. Okay. So.
Look at those lines. Wow.
And there's actually a really interesting story about this particular animal and the TSK clown, TSK axanthic clowns. Bryce Honstead, who was in San Diego a long time ago when I started out, he actually did the double hets and made the first ones. He unfortunately decided to get out of the business and sold his hets and his other animals to Mike of, completely blanking on his name. He owns a reptile store down in San Diego as well, in Chula Vista. And so he has Bryce's animals. So he has the original female, and then he also produced 2 more last year or the year before last, as far as I know, when we were discussing the project. So
right.
This is it, you know.
So those are Bryce's animals then. Wow.
Yeah. Did you ever meet him?
No, I never actually got the opportunity to meet Bryce. I've heard all kinds of stuff, you know, all the stories, but never got to actually meet the gentleman.
Yeah. He did a lot of good things way back in the day, and you know, now all the rest of us get to bask in his glory.
Wow. So now, Lindsay, do you have any animals that you can show off there?
I've got.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's a panther chameleon, obviously, but he's one of the designer mixes of Blue Bar and Zimbabwe, which I think is a kind of a hot topic in the chameleon world.
Yeah.
So, but he's really pretty. I know my camera's really crappy, but there's pictures of him on Facebook.
Okay.
So he's always great.
Wow.
I'm surprised he's not gaping right now.
What's that?
I said I'm surprised he's not gaping right now.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of surprised me too. I'm like, wow, he's actually pretty chilled out.
He must like you, John.
Yeah, really.
Like.
That's the thing with reptiles. You know, what can I say? Awesome.
So I'm gonna go put him back.
Okay. And Rachel, how about you? Do you have anyone available that you can show us?
Actually, all of my animals are back in my herp room. I could go grab someone, but I don't actually have anyone in my living room.
Okay, not a problem. Now, let's see here. Trying to catch up to where our questions left off.
Can I actually jump in real quick? I actually had to Google the store because I felt really bad. Sorry, Mike. South Bay Tropical is the store.
South Bay Tropical,
so that we can give them their appropriate shouts out because, yeah, I felt bad right now. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem. Now, Rachel, as far as, is there a definitive gender bias when working in the community as a whole, do you think, as far as herpetoculture is concerned?
Well, I think that most people, if they don't see a picture of you necessarily like on your website or anything, if you're dealing with reptiles, they do automatically assume that you are male. I've received several emails from my website where people are like, hey, dude, how's it going? You got this, da 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 da. Thanks, bro. But I haven't necessarily, have had anything negative. But I have noticed that people do assume that you are male in the industry.
Once they get to know you, then it's going to be, hey, beautiful.
Oh God.
Ask Denise Abreu about that one. It's, hey, beautiful, you like snakes?
Oh, God.
I've gotten that. It's terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm sorry for jumping in, Rachel,
No.
but I have a story about that. Before I got married, and I had established my collection, I actually went out of my I started doing Facebook and stuff like that, and I got several emails suggesting that I date specific people because our collections together would be amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not that they found me interesting in any way. It was that I was a female and that I was able to contribute to their collection. So we should date.
Hey, you got the hottest new morph. You want to date so I can borrow your stud mail?
Exactly.
Dude, oh, God.
And this hasn't actually, it's not like it happened just once. This has happened several times over the years. This is probably, I would say, about a good 2 to 3 years, and then one, and then another one, and then, with things in between, so.
Well,
Okay.
Heather, nobody can resist your balls, so.
Apparently not.
Oh, God. Wow. Did that really just get said on the roof?
And it's actually funny. I've also gotten harassing phone calls, actually, now that we're thinking about stuff like this. I have my phone on at all times, and I had a guy call me probably once a year-ish, and he would initiate conversation saying, hey, I have a problem with this snake or this, and then it would slowly become sexual. And, I work full-time, so I don't have time for this stuff, excuse me. And so I had to tell him very politely that I can't help him, and if he continues to do that, I would have to call the police. So, 1 year goes by, and he comes and calls again, and he calls from a black number and everything like that. So back to the whole gender thing, yes, I do get harassed because of my gender, because of something like that. It's probably true of anybody, though, It's because I am easily accessible, and somebody decides to take advantage of that.
Wow. Now, there is a comment from Christine Kilroy. She says, okay, I'm not a ball python gal, but that axanthic clown is gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful animal.
Thank you.
And that was from Christine Kilroy on YouTube. Now, Jimmy, before we go move over to Courtney in that same question, I want to start a trend. I want to have any of the females on our panels of women in herpetoculture, if they get harassing phone calls or photographs or any said emails, I say we start posting them right here on the show.
Hey, nothing better than screenshots.
Screenshots, totally, all day long.
We could share screenshots through our social media group. The word will get out real quick on who's doing what.
Yeah, I think we should make that happen. Okay, so Courtney, gender bias in the community as a whole, what do you think? Whoop.
We lost her.
Okay, she'll probably come right back. Let's see. Okay, now as far as Lindsay is looking forward into the next few years here, what kind of encouragement would you give to young people that were looking into getting into herpetoculture and this type of industry, as far as from a female perspective?
I think that with any kind of industry that has been male dominated, even though we're seeing this trend of like increasing women, it's just one of those things that you just need to kind of keep going. Don't give up, and because I've had a lot of deterrent within my last. I don't know. I told you I haven't been doing this very long, obviously.
Right.
But there was a lot of deterrent when I just started out. So if it's something that you love and it's your passion, don't give up on it, because it's not worth, doing a 9-to-5 job that you dread going towards, because every time I come home from work, I'm like, hey, let's do some reptile stuff, That's what I want to do. I want to go to work every day and love it. And it's definitely possible. You see these women from the last panel and the current panel, they're doing exactly what they want to, and they're successful. It's possible. You just have to work towards it. So I guess that would be my encouragement towards the younger generation, for sure. Because I kind of am, if you think about it, I kind of am the younger generation right now. So I'm kind of doing the same kind of thing. But for, the little wee ones, it's the same advice.
Right. Gotcha. Very cool. And we have a shout out from YouTube to Rachel, it looks like. It says, I love Rachel. Hey, girl. And that's from Tegu Girl on YouTube. And with that, we're going to our first break, I think. Is that correct, Jimmy?
That is correct. That is correct. Let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick 90-second break. You can shut your videos off and relax a minute, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, and we're back. Is my other co-host here?
No.
Is he back?
Never. I left the building again.
Yeah, we missed our little break earlier, so I figure we'll give everybody a little break, and maybe they ran to get some more animals to show off.
Yeah, I think Courtney's back here.
And we got Courtney back on too. Great.
All right. Okay, so Courtney, let's try this again.
Sorry.
The gender bias. What is your thoughts on that when it comes to the reptile community as a whole?
I agree with Heather. Sometimes they treat you like you don't really know much, but I think a lot of us out there, we know our stuff, and we're tough women. We can put them in their place. I mean, for me, I haven't really noticed it too bad. I haven't been to any shows or anything yet, so I'm not sure what the shows, but anytime I see friends posting videos or photos or whatever, I see a ton of women at these shows, and it seems like it's more and more each time, which is awesome, so it's not a male-dominated thing anymore. There's a lot of women that are interested in this, and I think it's great. I hope it continues.
For sure. Now, any words of advice or encouragement for the ones coming in that are new to the hobby or on the outskirts looking in type thing? what words of encouragement or words of advice would you give to the young women today?
If whatever you want to own, do your research. There's a lot of great resources out there. There's a lot of great people to talk to. There's a lot of different groups, although there's a lot of problems with some groups on Facebook, as a lot of people are used to. There's a lot of arguments and fighting, but I mean, there's also a lot of great people out there that really know their stuff, and reach out, talk to them, communicate. Just keep on asking. You can't never ask enough questions.
For sure, very definitely. And Heather, what would be your words of encouragement for our up and coming women in herpetoculture today?
Never give up. No matter what, I really think that it doesn't matter anything, gender, race, anything like that. In all honesty, it has nothing to do with your capabilities and your abilities to do anything. Granted, it does make it a little harder sometimes, but honestly, there's no reason for you to feel like that's not a reason to succeed and to go after what you dream and what you believe in. This is just kind of true of anything, kind of life lesson right there, be it reptiles or anything else.
For sure, for sure. And it says. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up on the comments and questions here. I'm sorry. Jimmy, you're up, sir.
I'm up for what?
Next question.
I just got back. I told you I had to step away.
Oh, come on.
Now you're going to throw me to the burning fire, the burning flame.
So, any words of encouragement? Actually, Jimmy, you have daughters. What is your take on this aspect of it from looking at your kids getting into this?
You know what? Just in life in general, for me, teaching my kids, be independent, work hard, and do what you love. It's not about the money. It's not about anything except being able to get up and love what you do every day, and that's going to follow you through. I don't know if either one of my girls are going to follow me in the herpetoculture or herpetology world. My little one seems a little bit more interested in my older one, but they both love animals, so animals are going to be a huge part of their life no matter what. But for them, it's don't expect anything to be given to you. Work hard and do what you got, and luckily enough, they do. They work hard and get great grades, so I can't complain.
There you go. Awesome. Now, Rachel, what do you see for the next? Do you see any significant changes coming in the next few years for women in herpetoculture at all, Rachel?
Well, I think that there, with the more women coming in, I think that will continue to be a trend, and eventually, I mean, people will start seeing that maybe there's no, there is no bias about it. Women do also breed reptiles. They also keep them and that sort. So I have noticed that families tend to kind of freak out more when a woman takes on reptiles versus like if their son had taken on a reptile or a male member of the family. So I think that'll start changing a little bit more, and 10 years from now we'll have more herpetologist scientists and that out in the field, and that'll be really great.
Very cool. Awesome. And actually, we have a live comment which is for both you and Heather. It starts off, Heather is known to many as the snake goddess. She's a perfect role model for young herpers, male or female, and "or" was in capital letters. Rachel is is an amazing breeder of geckos and artist with her own style and a marketing genius. I'm lucky enough to know them both personally, and they are a credit to the world of herps. That's from Joanne Reifman via YouTube. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Joe.
I love you, Joe.
And same question to you, Lindsay. Any significant changes do you see coming down the road, especially since you're in college right now? Any significant changes that you can see coming forward in the next few years for women in herpetoculture at all?
Am I talking now?
Yep, there you go.
Changing. See, I guess I'm not so sure with herpetoculture in general, but we definitely see these shifts as just the gender issues are being brought up a lot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the herpetoculture, I hope it'll follow what people are doing for the gender issues in general, like the Yes All Women that's going on right now is really huge after that Santa Barbara incident. And so I guess my whole thing is I just kind of want a level playing field. I don't want, like you talked about earlier, the whole emails, as soon as someone finds out, I'm single, apparently that's the invitation, to start something that, isn't necessarily reptile related anymore. Like I could talk reptiles all day, but as soon as we cross that boundary, I'm just kind of put on edge. And so that, I guess that was like my whole issue when I first started out. But like the other woman said, if you just keep going and, do what you want and prove yourself to be, an intelligent person, you should be fine. And so I guess that's the only thing I can foresee in the future is that people start taking, women seriously, and you start to not see as many people, questioning the women once they give someone certain information after asking, not going towards the male. So that's really common. So, I mean, hopefully we see that. Whether it's going to happen, who knows?
Right.
Well, I think I actually see a lot of the shift, maybe not so much in the hobby and herpetoculture, but in herpetology. It's amazing to me the amount of women I am seeing being having papers published, doing field research. It's just huge. There's a large amount in that educational aspect of herpetology and women. A big shift there. So I'm gonna lead into a question, and actually I'm gonna bring our executive producer in here. So I'm gonna ask him this question because I want him to think real long and hard. So turn your mic on there, Chad. And here's the next question as we go through the panelists. Tell me your funniest story with working with reptiles. What would be your funniest story? Embarrassing moment. Oh, his mic might be off, John.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Oh,
Were you listening to the show, or were you busy producing over there?
I was producing.
Oh. What's your most embarrassing or funniest moment there, Chad, working with reptiles?
Oh man, I have no clue.
Okay, we'll skip Chad. Let's go to John. John, I want to hear yours.
How did I know this was coming? Oh boy, most embarrassing moment. This would actually be a friend of Heather's. Heather would know this person rather well. My mentor, the one that got me into reptiles, Matt, used to get regular shipments at the store that we worked at together of reptiles. And because I was new to reptiles, I was always interested in what Matt was bringing in, because Matt always had cool stuff coming in. So Tupperware, well, actually it wasn't Tupperware, I don't remember what the actual material was, but there was a box there, and I was begging Matt if I can go open it to see what was inside. And he starts giggling. This should have been my first clue, but, whatever. I go over there, I carefully, lift the lid on the box, it's dark inside, I can't see anything. And I keep looking, but there's nothing in there. So I'm thinking, God, it must be a small gecko or something. So I open the lid completely and stick my face over the top of the container. Next thing I know, there's 3 blood pythons all striking at me at the same time as I fall backwards and scream like a little girl in pigtails. Matt and the entire store, including my manager, thought that this was hysterically funny.
That is definitely Matt humor right there. Oh, yeah.
Heather knows Matt.
Yes, I do. And that is exactly what he would pull. And then give you crap for it for another 5 years afterwards, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yep, still hear about that. So how about Lindsay? Any funny, embarrassing moments with reptiles?
I was trying to think of a couple, but the only thing I could think of is one is not so funny. I don't think, or embarrassing for me, but one of my snakes got out, and it happened to be the one that I named Chompers for appropriate reasons. And my roommate at the time is deathly afraid of snakes. And so she tolerates the other ones. And I don't know how this snake got out because it has a locking lid, and it was supposed to be locked, and it was still closed. Luckily, there was no internal damage or anything, or he wasn't hurt. But so I just walk into the living room, and Andrea's sitting right there. I go, one of the snakes got out. And she goes, which one? Chompers. She takes her cat. She has a black cat, Indy, which probably could have killed my snake if they got into it. And she goes and stands on the porch until I find it. And so that was pretty much, I think, the funniest thing that I've ever encountered. I found him in less than 5 minutes. He was just in the bathroom hiding under the toilet. But I think that's the funniest thing I can come up with besides anything that involves, like, snake farts, and that's just gross. So.
Oh, snake farts. Gotta love those.
Well, I didn't know what they were, and so I have the rack in my room, and so I kept hearing these noises that would wake me up in the night, and I thought it was like some creepy monster in my room, and then I finally figured it out that it was just snakes pooping is what it was.
Yeah.
So I'd scare myself awake over snakes pooping.
That's awesome. So scare myself awake from snakes pooping. Oh my god. I am so gonna quote her on that one.
I remember the breeding seasons with snakes, and of course I keep all colubrids, and all you hear is tail whipping all night long. Males and females, bam, 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 bam. Sounds like somebody's trying to break in your house. Yeah, that was probably my most interesting one there. Having company and male and female snakes in the cages and trying to sit down and watch a movie, and all you hear is ka-clunk, 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 ka-clunk. And she swore, of course it was a scary movie, and she swore it was a monster in the house, and I kept on saying, listen, it's not, it's just snakes in the tank that are next to you, but she didn't have it.
Now, excuse me, Chad actually has his story ready now. He's actually had long enough to think about it.
He does. All right. Let's hear it, Chad.
All right. Well, it was probably 20-some years ago. I had just moved out of the house. I was 18 years old, and I had a ball python. And I moved into my buddy's place, and he lived with his parents. I was living in his basement, and I wasn't allowed to keep the snake there, so I had it in a tub under the bed. Parents didn't know about it, and I had to have the feeders, so I just wrapped them up in white butcher paper, put them in the back of the freezer. Didn't think they would know about it. Well, one time we're in the basement, and all of a sudden I hear a scream, and his mom was making meatloaf that night and grabbed the wrong thing of meat to thaw out. So she unwrapped 3 things of 3 rats, thinking it was going to be a couple pounds of hamburger. Yeah, that didn't go over so well.
Oh my god.
That's a good one, Chad. That's
wow.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah.
So did you snatch it off the counter before it got defrosted and open?
I don't remember what I said. I just kind of like, oh crap, and started looking for a new place to live. So,
Wow.
Let's move over to Rachel. Most embarrassing or funny story between you and reptiles?
Well, I guess it wasn't really embarrassing for me necessarily. Maybe it was. I don't know. I was actually at a school outreach, and I had a few of my geckos there, and it was breeding season, and sometimes geckos get a little bit excited, and I took one out and was showing this little girl, like, right in front of her, and he just dropped his hemipenes out and just started going at it right in my hand.
Wow.
And I actually have the little critter that did it right here. I don't know if you
guilty party has arrived.
There he is.
Little perv. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
This is actually my first gecko, and his name is Katoom. But yeah, he totally embarrassed me, I guess. The poor girl, I'm not even sure she really knew what was going on, but
Yeah, she probably didn't have any idea, but for one of us, it would just be like, oh my god, please. It's like a dog, you know? It's like, really? Yeah, I can't take you anywhere.
I just covered him and put him right back in his deli cup because that was a little too much to explain.
You know, and that's a hard one too. I get that question a lot from elementary kids. How do you determine the sex of a snake? And you know, to be politically correct in your answers, yet try to explain it to a point where they can understand, has always seemed to baffle what my answer is. Of course, I stay in the scientific realm of everything, only to stay politically correct, but that situation is usually kind of hard to handle.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had to deal with that one yet, thankfully.
Yet.
Yeah.
Start thinking about it, because it'll come. The more educational shows you do,
yeah, thanks for
it'll
reminding me. So,
All right.
did we hear from Courtney yet as far as her most embarrassing hurt moment?
No, we didn't. And I hope
Okay.
she's got a really good one too.
Yeah.
Not really. Sorry to disappoint. I haven't really had anything embarrassing other than doing some public awareness when I was going out relocating a snake off somebody's property when I was animal control down in the desert, and he just decided to defecate all over me, silly little king snake. But that's snake's poop. What can you do?
Everybody poops. Yeah, you know.
And king snakes and milk snakes are known for throwing it. They launch it. You grab hold of them, they sling that tail around, and it's all over the wall, all over the ceiling, across your forehead. Any of our audience that keeps milk snakes and king snakes will know what I'm talking about, because they just sling it everywhere.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of king snakes. Milk snakes are okay. King snakes, not so much. They hate me. Oh, Chad says not as bad as garters.
True. But garters are pretty much musk. You know, a lot of that's the musk from the garters. But anyway,
Right?
king snakes hate you for a reason, John.
Well, yeah, you know. Because I like their food. Okay, so where are we at now? Where are we at as far as time-wise?
We got plenty of time. Actually, we got to hear from Heather.
Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure we check the time there. And actually, Heather said she didn't have anything except bites and being pooped on.
Yeah, I can't really contribute to embarrassing, just more disgusting. Yeah. Honestly, but that's, you know, as I'm sure you guys know, that's just typical of dealing with animals. That's it. Embarrassing would actually involve me caring about being pooped on or bitten. That's not the case.
Yeah. That seems to be like the initiation process. You know,
Right.
So you join. The first thing you have to do is either get bitten or pooped on, one of the two.
Exactly. And then be proud about it when it happens. And share it
Exactly. Then you got to go
on
share it with all your friends.
Facebook.
Look, I have poop. Okay, and we have a question from YouTube for Courtney, actually. What made you start Cold-Blooded Vixens?
I started Cold-Blooded Vixens. Actually, one of my friends kind of pushed me in the direction and said, "Hey, you love, cold-blooded animals so much. Why don't you dedicate a page?" So thanks, Brad, for the idea. I just wanted to show the beauty of this misunderstood animals and show them in a positive light, and try to have a wonderful herp community that could contribute and show off their beautiful animals as well.
Gotcha. Very good. And that was from Tegu Girl, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Phew.
We got one more, and this one's from Christine again. And I can share Lindsay's pain. The first time I heard my Great Banded King poop, it was so loud it woke me up and I fell out of bed.
Wow.
So, always some good laughs on Reptile Living Room.
Yeah.
See, I told you, it's a common problem, the pooping thing.
Evidently so. Evidently so. That's. I got nothing. Oh boy.
Sometimes you just fall off track there, John. Sometimes we just fall off track. All right. So should we take this conversation from a stinky situation into something a little more reptile living room-ish?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we go to the famous last question of Reptile Living Room?
Yeah, I think so, man, because I can't take any more poop stories. I'll just die. All right, so...
well, just good thing that... Just think, you don't have any ball pythons, so you can't have everybody liking your balls.
Exactly. Very true. And Chad makes a good point, but snake poop is nowhere near as bad as if you have a dog get in the trash and puke garbage. Oh, that's true. Yes.
I don't think he wanted that one on air.
Yeah. Probably not, but that's, why it's there. Anyway, so our famous last question for the panel is: if money was no object in enclosure's room, if basically you could have anything you wanted in life reptile-wise, what would it be? And we'll start with Rachel, actually.
I'm probably going to chop the name up because I'm not good with Latin. I'm horrible. But it's the green jeweled geckos from New Zealand. Those are so gorgeous. Like, if I could just have one, or a pair, if I could have a pair of them, oh my gosh, I would die happy. Like, awesome. They are so gorgeous. The Neltinus gray, I think is how you say it. I'm going to chop that up. But
I'll have to look that up, or maybe Chad can find someone, post a picture in the show notes or something like that for us so we can check those out.
They're really gorgeous and rare, very rare. I feel protected in New Zealand, so I think that you have to have special paperwork in order to own one. Even they're protected cities and all that. So
yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, and Jim, anyone can answer this actually if they know the answer. Is everything reptile related protected in New Zealand? Does anybody know? Is it like Australia where they don't export anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I know they have a lot of issues because of the introduced mammals that are taking out a lot of the native animals there, and I'm sure most of them are probably protected.
Oh, okay. Very good. And, wow, there's a message for you there in chat, Rachel, from Chad, our producer, actually. Lindsay, what would be your ultimate animal that you would own, or reptile, if room and money were no object?
Oh, my goodness. I guess I haven't really thought about the question because I like to be realistic with my means and money. I think it'd be really cool to I really have been looking at tegus and monitors, if I could own anything larger. But for me, that would include owning a house, which probably won't happen for a long while. So I really enjoy like the bigger species, but like I've talked to you about a lot of like owning exotic animals, and so I'm kind of in this like weird transition of like, should I own it, and if I should, what do I do with it?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess if no money were a problem or no space, it would probably be one of the bigger species that I could admire, at closer quarters.
Awesome. Very cool. And Heather, how about you? How about you, dear? What would you own if money was no object and room was no issue there?
Well, that's an excellent question. I honestly would probably try and just do a zoo. Really. Yeah. I have a lot of interests that span a lot of different species. Right now the first thing that popped up when the question came up was actually an albino alligator, which I know there's no way I can do that ever. But sounds awesome. And with that, of course, if I were to do that in this imaginary scenario, I would need a zoo. So we're going to do that, and then we're just going to get a whole bunch of cool stuff and throw it in there, and then everybody can come.
Awesome.
Yep.
I dig it.
Smorgasbord of reptiles.
Yeah, and I actually, the money, not the issue. I actually need more time. So if that is also a part of the thing, then I'm good with that too. Yeah.
Yes, we always have all the time in the world to do whatever we want.
Of course.
And Courtney, how about you? What would be your dream animal or reptile, as it were, to own if money was no object and room was of no concern?
Actually, right now I would really love to have the money to buy one of Ed Marino's basin emerald tree boas. I have one emerald tree boa, but not a basin, and I really, really love them. So, but they're really expensive. But if I ever had the money, I'd go through him. He has gorgeous, and you can check him out at emeraldtreeboa.com. I have to give him a shout out because he has gorgeous, gorgeous snakes.
Oh, for sure, no problem at all. Awesome. And actually, Chad, what were you looking at? We'll throw Chad in there too.
Yeah, Chad's got to answer this one because I answered this one a few weeks ago.
I was going to say, you answered this one a few weeks ago, so I'm going to throw Chad under the bus.
What, about my favorite, the animal I would want to get?
Yep.
Yeah, bog turtles. That's why I got to move to Florida.
Oh, that's why you're moving in with Jimmy. Okay.
Oh, please warn me so I can... No, only kidding. I got a couch just outside with the mosquitoes. They kind of carry it away. They'll drop you off in the swamp where the turtles are.
Exactly.
That's your state bird.
So, actually, we have a comment here, John. You can go ahead and read and let me dig it up here. And
actually, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Rising Sun Reptiles, which is owned by that individual with the blood python story. Yeah, that's Matt. So if you're into ball pythons, check out Matt. He's got some awesome stuff over there at risingsunreptiles.com. Here's a comment from the Tegu Girl. Great show, guys. I am enjoying watching this. A lot of great questions. Talking about harassing phone call or messages. I got one last week. Some gentleman emailed me his... Wow.
Come on, John.
I got one last week. Some gentleman emailed me his junk with a corn snake wrapped around it.
Ick.
Ick. Tegu Girl, we'd be happy to expose... Well, obviously he exposed himself. So feel free to send me that image. I'll post it right on my Facebook page and make sure it's highlighted with his name, please. And then we'll rotate it through the show on a weekly basis until he actually gets the message that that's not okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd be wanting to rotate that picture out.
No,
Yeah,
we're going to blur it out. We're just going to hold his name up. I'll just hold placards of his name.
There you go.
Oops.
It never ceases to amaze me how low some males can actually go.
Oh, there we go. Wall of shame. That's what we're going to do. Wall of shame. I dig that idea. Thank you for that. Now we have a name for our little event that we're going to pull off with these gentlemen that decide to send female their inappropriate pictures and comments. Wall of shame.
Good thing this show is on past 9 p.m. Eastern time.
All right. And with that, Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and let you wrap up the show, huh?
Actually, yeah. I have one more here. Cheryl Mitchell just posted another one. Let's see what this one is. Bites. Being pooped on, I always have at least one critter take a dump either on me or on their carrying cage during a demo. And I have had snakes sneak into my shirt during demos.
Oh, that's always interesting.
Yeah. So, in closing, and before we say goodbye to our panelists, I have some things that I want to touch on here for Reptile Living Room. Next week, we're actually going to start accepting show sponsorships. We've had some people contact us, and of course, Rachel over there is one of the show sponsors. I'll have a media kit, which you'll be able to pick up on reptilelivingroom.com. It'll be available there for download. John will have it up once I get it to him. We're going to be looking at show sponsors. You get to pick your own show, sponsor it, we'll highlight it. And we're also looking for products to review. If you have a product, you can send those in, contact John or I or Chad, and you can send your products in. We'll start reviewing some of the awesome products that we have coming out in the reptile world. So that's pretty much it for Reptile Living Room business. John, do you have anything, since you weren't here earlier in the show, do you have anything coming up for Herp House Mag?
Oh, yes. The Canadian Reptiles, Canadian Living and Reptiles, Moving with Reptiles article.
Boy, that's a mouthful, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. That'll be coming out in the next issue.
And when's that issue come out?
On the 30th, I think, is when Becky has it planned. I know she'd written it down somewhere. And I know we just got some recent submissions to the new issue as well. And I'm trying to recall all the names that have submitted so far. And I believe we have another one from our Italian friend, Francesco, I believe. We have an article from him. Dr. McCormick, of course, is writing part 2 to the inbreeding article. Which species were you covering this week? Or was it Doug covering this week's? Or this month, sorry.
I think I have both the Colubrid Corner this month for Herp House, and I also have a couple articles that you get to choose from, so I'm not going to mention what they are. You can just choose them and promote them once you stick them in.
Very cool.
They're sure to excite some.
And speaking of exciting, I would like to make a point of getting bitten by snakes and agitating snakes to get them to bite you. Yeah, that's just dumb.
You're going to go there, are you?
It's just retarded. Point blank.
We were discussing, Chad and I were discussing this in the green room, as well as Rachel kind of snuck in on the conversation on what Chad and I were discussing about that. And I agree with you, John. Agitating them just to promote a bite is actually totally insane.
Not to mention irresponsible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the issue, because that's been floating around the social networks a while. So anybody that wanted my opinion, there it is. Yeah. Do check out the herpetousemagazine.com affiliate program. Do talk to our authors that are involved in the magazine. They all have affiliate discount codes, and that gets you 30% off anything on the site. So a 99-cent article would be, what is it, Jimmy, like 60 cents or something like that?
Yeah, 68 cents, I think, is what it comes up to.
Yeah, you can build, and also build your own reptile magazine. Every single article ever published by Herp House is on the website for 99 cents. And if you use one of our authors' discount codes, like we said, it's a 68 cents purchase.
Yep. And Rachel, unmute your mic and promote Happy Gecko Sticky Situation. Did I get it correct this time?
You did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it right.
Awesome.
After bombing it twice in the beginning. Thank you very much, John.
Anytime.
Well, I don't know. I draw decals and stickers of all kinds of reptiles. You can find obscure or common species, even the very morph you want, in my shop. Check me out on Etsy. Sticky Gecko is the name of my shop on Etsy. Search for that, and you'll be able to find the variety of reptiles in sticker form.
Great. And can they find you? They can find you on Facebook and G Plus, or just Facebook as well?
I'm on Facebook, Tumblr, Google+, and my website is also reptilestickers.com, so that's pretty easy.
That is. Got it, everybody. Reptilestickers.com. Heather, any really cool projects in the works this year, or?
Honestly, no. Like I said, I'm moving in actually 3 weeks to North Carolina, so I've pretty much stopped doing anything. Everything that I've hatched out so far is pretty much what I'm expecting. I'll probably get a couple more clutches just for the sake of my not paying attention, unfortunately. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I think if anybody's interested in following how moving 200 snakes across the country will happen, feel free to follow my blog at heathersherps.com, and yeah, let's see how that goes.
I'm definitely going to be following that one. Definitely going to be following that one to see how well they do.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's Heather's Herps, and then we have Courtney. Go ahead and promote Cold-Blooded Vixens. Let everybody, let our audience know where they can contact you and.
So on Facebook, you can just go to Cold-Blooded Vixens, and if you missed out earlier, I am having a calendar contest right now, and the deadline is Monday, September 22nd, and anybody is welcome to submit. I mean, go ahead and email me at coldbloodedvixens@gmail.com for rules and regulations, but I encourage anybody. I mean, you don't have to be a model, you don't have to have a professional photographer, it just needs to be a clear image suitable for print, and we had a really wonderful calendar. I was excited for last year's, and I can't wait to see what this year's has in store. And we're also on Tumblr. Right now I need to get my website back up, so hopefully it will be back up maybe in a couple months.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, and Lindsay, do you have anything you want to promote?
Oh, not really. I suppose if someone finds me interesting and wants to talk reptiles, I'm always open for it. So I'm on Facebook. Also, my email, I think, is on the Facebook page you guys have posted. But I believe my Facebook is facebook.com/justseely. I think that's what it is. Anyways, so, and I think my new email is VLSharp. I'm not sure. Everything's so new right now since I have to transfer everything from my college stuff into the real world. So I'm in that process. Plus, I'm moving in July as well, so kind of a little hectic. But if anyone wants to chat, or especially about lab and research animals, I'm definitely game for that. So.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. I don't have anything else, John, and I'd like to personally thank all our guests for coming on and dealing with me early on in the show before John got on here. I appreciate nobody making fun of me.
And I do apologize to Jimmy, and especially apologize to my guests for submitting you to Jimmy's disaster of the beginning of the show. Normally I'm here to help him along, you know, and I'm totally making fun of Jimmy right now just because I can.
I didn't realize we had a chance to. Was that part of the deal?
Totally.
I lost my chance.
Producer and co-hosts are always fair game. Thanks again, ladies, for being on the panel. We appreciate your work. Look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Of course, after you all move, that is, and are all settled down again.
Thank you for having us.
All right. I have one last thing, John.
Okay.
We forgot to mention next week's show.
Oh my gosh.
Boy, I tell you what, this show surely didn't go as we had it all typed out, planned, and ready to rock and roll, huh?
Well, that's what happens when you have, suddenly someone shooting lots of people in Canada.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So next week's show, everybody needs to catch it. It is actually Reptile Show's Do's and Don'ts. We have Brian Potter from NARBC, and we also have Terry Hearing from the Dixie Reptile Show on to answer anybody's questions. So please join us next week for Reptile Show's Do's and Don'ts. And it includes vendors and also participants and visitors of the shows as well. If you have any questions on anything pertaining to these reptile shows, please join us. Post the questions. You can post them throughout the week, and we can get them answered by our panelists next week. So should be I'm really super stoked about this because I know when I first started doing shows, there was nothing there. Nobody could tell me how to do what, and I didn't know anybody. So at least let's give everybody a platform to have their questions answered.
Very definitely. And Brian, I've talked to Brian before. I have not talked to Terry at all before, but Brian's just a wealth of knowledge, and you know Terry personally, and you said he's a wealth of knowledge too as far as anything to do with shows and whatnot. So
absolutely,
either a vendor or an attendee, it's going to cover both aspects from the show promoters themselves. So you guys you folks definitely don't want to miss the show.
Alrighty, and we'll catch you next week, 9 o'clock Eastern. You can catch the recorded versions on YouTube, reptilelivingroom.com, or they'll be available on iTunes, typically Friday afternoons, sometimes Saturday mornings. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.